Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Eyes of the Opposition series, of course, show in which we get the views and perspectives of opposition fans, writers, journalists, and today is no different. I'm joined by Roshane Thomas from The Athletic, who is the West Ham correspondent for the website. Of course, The Athletic is a fantastic site. We've had plenty of their journalists on already. We've had David Naylor and Rob Tanner on from Leicester and from last week's absolute capitulation against Brighton, which has led Arsenal to sit in a situation where we are now currently 9 games without a win. Will they make it 10 on Monday evening? We're going to have to wait and find out. You should take note, because the area around me, as some of you know if you're following us on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV, could be changing very soon. And I start off with an apology. The content that's coming out over the next week or so may be quite sparse, effectively because I'm moving house. I said this a couple of months ago that it was in the pipeline and now it's sorted, and this weekend has been spent emptying and unpacking flat pack furniture, which is great. But there will be a podcast tonight for those of you that are listening on Sunday morning and early afternoon to discuss what happened in the Brighton game and of course preview tomorrow's game against West Ham. So make sure you tune in for that. Those that are watching on Monday, you'll be able to watch that back right away. So let's get straight into things and talk to Roshane about that West Ham game. Obviously Arsenal are 9 games without a win. Does that make it easy sort of coming into this game that you can sort of face Arsenal, a side that we know aren't doing too well at the moment? How do you sort of expect West Ham to stack up against this Arsenal side in such a poor vein of form?
Well, when you think about it, both teams are on a terrible run of form right now. I mean, Arsenal can't win. West Ham won against Chelsea, but prior to that, the form was a bit up and down. So this game has all the hallmarks of a 0-0 draw. It has all the hallmarks of a 0-0 draw. So, I mean, yeah, West Ham will take great confidence in the fact that, you know, Arsenal lost their last game against Brighton. But then again, West Ham lost their last game against Wolverhampton, a game in which many thought perhaps, you know, could be a draw on paper. West Ham perhaps could have secured the last-minute winner, but it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. So I feel like with both teams currently on a poor run of form, lacking any like real consistency, it has all the hallmarks of a draw, in my opinion, because, you know, the feel-good factor was back from the win against Chelsea, and for whatever reason, West Ham couldn't like build on that and get a win against Wolverhampton, and it's just typical West Ham, really. Get your hopes up, and then the next weekend they'll just drop your hopes back down again. So it's unfortunate, but I mean, yeah, I haven't seen any like indication that West Ham will use it to advance and try and get a win, because we've seen previously where, you know, a game where, like for example, the game against Everton, you know, West Ham were favourites, and for whatever reason, West Ham couldn't get a win. When at that time, Marco Silva, obviously, who's now been sacked as manager, but at the time he was so under pressure heading into that match, and it seemed like, you know, it just seemed like it was inevitable for West Ham to win, and again they couldn't get the win. So that's why I don't really have much confidence that Monday will be a victory for West Ham. I think it will end in a draw for both teams.
Now, one of the key factors that has led to this awful form from the Gunners has, of course, been their defence. Their defence has been leaking goals like anything. Socrates has been poor, Louise has been poor, and we really haven't sort of nailed down an improvement since Kieran Tierney and Bellerin were introduced to the team. So in terms of West Ham dangers, I'm intrigued to know what players could hurt us the most at the London Stadium come Monday evening. So what areas of the field do Arsenal need to worry about, and where do you think we're going to get hurt the most?
Well, it depends on what West Ham team turns up, really, because if we see the West Ham side that played against Chelsea, then, you know, Arsenal will be in for a tough test. Because that match in particular was like one of the best performances of the season, because there was so much high pressing, you know, the intensity was there, and that's pretty much down to the fact Mikel Antonio was in the side. And I think a lot of West Ham fans will agree that when he's not in the team, the team just lacks urgency, it lacks pace, and ultimately it's a completely different team. So providing he is fit, because in Pellegrini's press conference he said that he could be an injury doubt. So providing he is fit, then in my opinion, Mikel Antonio will present the biggest danger to Arsenal, because he's just a key part of this West Ham side. And like I said, when he's not playing in the team, it's just a completely different side. And, you know, Paulo Fornals, he's a player who's slowly growing in confidence. We've seen his last couple of games now where he's starting to get to grips with life in the Premier League. So he he's another one you should watch out for. And also Felipe Anderson. I mean, the last month or so, he's been up and down. He hasn't really had any real impact. But I mean, if there was a match for him to show the world where I am a good player, I've just been struggling a bit with confidence, and this is the match. So yeah, he needs to turn up in this match as well. I mean, the reason why I'm not saying Sebastian Haller would be, one to watch out for in this match, because I reckon he'll be on the bench in this game. I reckon he'll be dropped to the bench to accommodate the return of Mikel Antonio. So that's one of the reasons why I don't feel like. Well, that's one of the reasons why he's not on my list of players to watch out for. Cause I don't believe he'll be in the starting lineup for this game.
Now, whilst, yes, the defence is poor, West Ham have had their own troubles too this season, and hence why there has been under massive scrutiny for Manuel Pellegrini, of course, former Manchester City manager. Did quite well when he turned up at the London Stadium, but has since then sort of struggled this season to really sort of improve things there, and that's down to an area of weakness amongst the team. And Roshane, I'm really interested to know what you think that weakness is. Where can the Arsenal attack, which is arguably our best thing, and if there is a best thing about Arsenal, you are hard to find it, but what sort of areas of weakness can the Arsenal exploit on Monday night?
So West Ham are absolutely terrible when it comes to defending set pieces. Right, for whatever reason, they can't seem to defend a set piece. In the game against Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Newcastle and Wolves, the team just keep conceding from set pieces, and it's just frustrating to watch, because I mean, defending set pieces should be one of not the easiest thing, but it's just the basics. And for whatever reason, West Ham struggled to get the basics right. They failed to get tight to lack of tight marking is a factor. We tend to be out jumped a lot. So this is an area where I believe Arsenal should try and exploit on Monday, because other teams have had success against West Ham when it comes to trying to get a goal from set pieces, and I feel like that should be an area Arsenal should target, because it's an area which West Ham does struggle with, and there's been no improvement, no lessons have been learnt, so it's a huge concern for West Ham.
In terms of predictions, that's always where we like to end things off in terms of our questions. I want to know what you think a scoreline might be. I want to know what sort of team we expect to see the West Ham play on Monday evening. I think that they're going to go all out attack, personally. I think that's what we're going to see. But Roshane, in terms of a lineup, in terms of a prediction, how do you think this game is going to play out?
As I say, it's going to end in a draw. This match is going to end in a draw. 0-0. I'm calling it right now. A 0-0 draw. 0-0 draw, or if a team somehow happens to win, it'll be because of an own goal. Both teams, in my opinion, are bereft of confidence. No team not likely to win this game, so that is why I believe this game will end in a draw. So, yeah. And team and score prediction. As I say, I believe, for me, Pellegrini should name a team similar to the game against Chelsea, and that was like a 4-4-1-1 formation. And I believe that should be the team he plays against Arsenal. If Mikel Antonio passes the late finish test, then he should play up front and then provide that sort of pace which we saw against Chelsea. Because the thing is, right, when Antonio plays, everyone's pressing. Fornal's pressing, Snodgrass pressing. When Haller plays up front as a lone striker, it's not the same, because he's not mobile enough. He's very static. He doesn't have much pace. I mean, don't get me wrong. He has good hold-up play. He has his strengths, but I mean, if you're going to play him as a lone striker, which Pellegrini keeps insisting on, and it's not working, then you need to play Antonio, or play them both up front as a two, as in a 4-4-2, or any of those formations to accommodate both up front, because that's when it'll work. But yeah, all things considered, again, I reckon it'll end in the draw, and yeah, so hopefully it'll be a good game at the Emirates, and yeah, come on UINs.
You see, now I'm just not so sure it's going to be as cut and dry as a draw, Roshane. Of course, I respect your professional opinion. I'm really sort of concerned with the fact that the likes of Felipe Anderson, etc., is going to hurt us, and our defence just is not the team that it used to be. I say the team that it used to be. It never used to be great in the last decade. So you have to go back almost 20 years to find out when we had a decent defence. 15 years, maybe 20 years is harsh. But I mean, a draw, interesting decision. As I say, I think it's going to be not as cut and dry as that. I think we will concede at some point during this game, and hopefully we can get a goal in. But who knows right now? The one thing that we do know as Arsenal fans is that we need to sort out the coaching situation as soon as possible. Huge thank you to Roshane. You can find him at Roshane Sport on Twitter. And of course, he writes for The Athletic, where they've produced arguably the best written content on the air. I was going to say the airwaves there, but the written waves, is that what we want to call it? But yeah, please do go check out Roshane's stuff. And the Athletic have got their own podcast too at the moment. There's an Arsenal one, there's a David Ornstein one, which I know that Arsenal fans would love to go and check out. As I say every single time, this is not an ad. I simply think the Athletic is the best content producer out there currently in terms of general football knowledge. Arsenal-wise, well, we've got some catching up to do. Only joking. But massive thanks again to Roshane. If you want to obviously follow us and get the most news that possible about Arsenal, you just need to subscribe. You just need to follow us on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV. And turn those notifications on YouTube as well by clicking the little bell button. You can do that on Twitter as well. And give the video a like if you have enjoyed the show. I really have enjoyed talking to Roshane. So make sure you check us and him out. We will see you again very, very soon, hopefully in a new environment. Other than that, though, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you again very, very soon. And listen to the podcast tonight or on playback if you haven't already. And as always, up the Arsenal.